Christian Horner's accuser has slapped an appeal on his head top. What does that mean? Well, come and join me and I'll tell you all about it, plus all of the rest of the F1 news. Welcome to Quick Stop F1. My name is Nyasha and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Let's run down today's news. They thought this story was dead, but it has risen like a phoenix from the ashes, much to the chagrin, I'm sure, of Christian Horner, Red Bull, and anyone involved with the company. Yes, the person who has accused him of inappropriate behavior, as we've seen in these unverified documents that came in a Google Drive, has appealed the dismissal of her grievance that was investigated by a QC by Red Bull, the parent company for Red Bull, the racing company. And look, we have to preface all of this by saying that all of this is allegedly, we're just going by media reports, but it seems to have been reported quite widespread. In this Guardian article, it does say that the female employee who accused Red Bull team principal Christian Horner of inappropriate behavior is believed to have launched an appeal against the decision made by the investigation into the allegations, which had dismissed the complaint. And look, this story is not going to go anywhere. It must be said as well, we still think that this person's suspended, according to Red Bull, for being dishonest in the course of the investigation. In quite what area, we don't quite know. But what does this mean then? Well, look, I'm someone who works in HR and specializes in employee relations. So my day-to-day, this is what I have to kind of deal with every single day: disciplinaries, grievances, inappropriate behavior, etc., etc. And I guess there's just a few things I think the F1 world have kind of missed out a little bit on. So, for example, I'm seeing a lot of people say, hey, this case was dismissed. There was no evidence, they've dismissed it out of hand, and that's not quite true. So, when you have a grievance, essentially what happens is you put in a complaint and that complaint is investigated. Now, normally that complaint is investigated by another member of staff, normally someone who is completely independent from anyone within the grievance itself. Now, Red Bull seem to have gone a step further and brought in a QC. Now, whilst that does seem very noble and does seem very to the letter of the law, let's not make a mistake. KCs now, King's Counsel and not Queen's Counsels, are essentially barristers. Barristers are people who are normally given evidence or who are looking to create cases in defense or attack of people. When they're brought in as a mediator or when they're brought in as an investigator, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're doing everything to the letter of the law. Now, every grievance investigation has to follow the policy that the company has. It also has to follow employment law, ACCUSER guidelines, things like that. Having a KC definitely, I guess, gives the air of an intrinsic, intense, forensic investigation into everything that's happening. But essentially, they're still following an employment process. It doesn't make it a legal process. We're still following the process from an employment point of view. Unless this issue goes to the police, that's when it becomes a legal issue, and that's when you may see language such as dismissed, mean that this is being thrown out. But when a grievance is dismissed, essentially what happens is, however this grievance was presented and the terms with which it was presented, so maybe the terms were, I'm making a complaint because my boss has been flirting with me inappropriately and making me feel upset, right? Potentially, we don't know. If a grievance is dismissed, it essentially means it's not upheld, and it basically means that there's not enough evidence for them to agree with that. Now, that doesn't mean that there was potentially further actions to come of that grievance. And, we've seen that this person's been suspended, so potentially there's disciplinary action in there for her. We don't know if there was recommendations made for staff relationships, recommendations made about Christian Horner's behaviour. We don't know that because Red Bull are not giving anyone this report to see. And look, it's not just us in the content creation world that are looking for this. I think Ford have asked for the report. I think Oracle have asked for the report. I think who else has asked for the report? Stefano Domenicali has asked for transparency. There's a lot of people who are asking for transparency. But again, because this is not a legal issue and this is a private business issue, this can be kept as private as possible because they don't need to break confidentiality and there's no public reason for them to make everything public. So I guess I say all this to say the appeal is part of the process. She has the right to appeal the grievance, even though it has been dismissed. And I guess what would happen now normally is that they would need to get someone completely different to look at the evidence, but they wouldn't be hearing it again. What they'd have to prove is that based on the evidence provided, process wasn't followed properly, which I doubt. That based on the evidence, the wrong decision was made, or if there's more evidence that's come to light which they want to bring forward. But it's not a redo of the whole investigation, and normally these things don't take as long. So hopefully we should all get an answer to that soon. But this really is the case that refuses to go away. And look, if you want my tuppence, we really don't know what happened between those two. I think the lack of transparency is telling. I think if Christian was truly innocent of everything that he says he's innocent of, I think he would have come out and given proof towards that. I think Jos Verstappen stating that he is essentially tearing the company apart with everything he's doing is proof that Christian's done a lot more than he's letting on. And I also think Max's refusal to back him in public is another sign that Christian has done something here which probably would warrant a bit more than the slap on the wrist that he's got. And we'll see. I think this is a story that's going to rumble on and on and on and on. But at the end of the day, sport will continue to sport. F1 will continue to F1. The news cycle is such that this is not really even the biggest story in the paddock at the moment, especially now the season has started. And all you can hope is that the person who made those allegations, if they are true, that they have as much support as they're able to get, both legally and personally. And we just hope we get a resolution to this which sees the right decision made. And whatever that is, I hope that arrives soon. And yeah, I think we should done a thing now. I'm not going to lie. That's just me. I'm just a guy with a headset and a Formula One channel. He's driven a Ferrari, he's scored points on his debut, and interestingly, looks a little bit like Rosamund Pike's long-lost son. Am I lying, bruv? Do these two not look like... They look alike, bruv. You can't tell me they look alike. That's her son. Anyway, yes, Ollie Bearman has the world at his feet after an incredible debut in Saudi Arabia this time last week. But look, if there's one thing that Ollie Bearman loves more than anything in the world, I'm not going to lie to you, probably even more than us here at Quickstop F1, Ollie Bearman loves him some Lewis Hamilton. That is right. After proclaiming and telling everyone in the world how happy he was to receive a hug from Lewis at the end of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which is very, very cute. Ollie has been talking more to the BBC about what Lewis will bring to the Maranello outfit in 2025 once he completes his blockbuster move from Mercedes. Ollie states that Lewis's experience will be invaluable to the team going forward, and he's looking forward to seeing the effect that Lewis will have on the team. And look, I just want to say something right now. I've seen some comments. We did a video recently. Make sure to go follow us on TikTok, Insta, Twitter, all of them things there, and subscribe. I've seen comments almost looking to dismiss, diminish, put down the achievements of Ollie Bearman on Saturday last week. What do you guys think? I think this kid did an incredible job. Bear in mind, what's not been discussed that much is that he stuck it on pole position on Thursday in F2. Gets the call to say you're going to be in F1. Has one practice session in these cars. Then qualifies. And there was a mistake in the last video. It wasn't 0.36. It was 0.036. Off of knocking Lewis Hamilton out of Q2 and getting into Q3. And then starting 11th and making his way up to 7th. Making moves on people, keeping his nose clean at the start. I'm sorry, for an 18-year-old to show that much composure, I thought was incredible. But I'm seeing people think that's normal. That's calm. If that's normal when that's calm, why is Kevin Magnussen running around like Pac after he got out of jail? Why is Lance Stroll bidding it within the first 10 laps? Like, guys, come on. There's experienced people on the grid who did not perform as well as Ollie Bearman. Given years of extensive testing, racing, qualifying, all of them things there. Yes, he has the second fastest car. Maybe he could have qualified higher. But I think to diminish what Ollie Bearman did at the weekend, I think is absolutely ludicrous, guys. And here at Quick Stop F1, we will not be diminishing his achievements. However, speaking of diminishing, further news out of Ferrari, and we know, obviously, that there is the big man arriving in 2025. And some man are saying that Ferrari may be regretting their decision to sign Lewis Hamilton off the back of Ollie Bearman's performances. But luckily, there's one person who definitely isn't regretting that. And that's Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur. Right said, Fred says, don't start to speak about after Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is not in the team, Fred said after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And this is just F1 in a nutshell, isn't it? Like, guys, 1 minute everyone's excited to see Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. The next minute, we're looking at a situation where people are saying, oh, maybe they're regretting it. I don't think Ferrari are. And look, I think it's an incredible story for Ollie, but what is going to be even more incredible is seeing Lewis Hamilton absolutely in that car, in a Ferrari, going toe-to-toe with Charles Leclerc in 2025. And look, potentially, we never know. If Ferrari ace the engine regulations and Red Bull powertrains, as is rumoured, potentially not living up to the hype, not in the same stratosphere as the Mercedes or Ferrari engines, then we're potentially looking at what could be an incredible swan song in Lewis Hamilton's career and setting it up nicely for Ollie Bearman to come and enjoy the fruits of that labour. But look, I think what's really interesting is that no one, honestly, given that Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes, he's been there for 13 years, I think I've heard more positive murmurs come out of Ferrari than I have Mercedes. Like, I thought it was going to be like a year-long Mercedes loving, you know, paying tribute to Lewis and the achievements that those two did together. Look, without Lewis, there's no Mercedes. Without Mercedes, there's no Lewis. Like, they've lifted each other up into another stratosphere, and you can really tell that it is a sour relationship at the moment. But luckily, from Ollie Bearman to Fred Vasseur to John Elkann, who's been even more effusive in his praise for Lewis Hamilton, I think he's been, honestly, like, he has broken his silence on it. You know, he's the guy who was absolutely imperative to the big move. He basically wrote Lewis Hamilton a blank check to come to Ferrari, and he's actually spoken for the first time since the move, and he said, I think speaking to Sky Italy, I've always said over the years how much Lewis is a great driver, how much he has done for F1. He will join Ferrari, and this is a sign of how much he believes he could do great things with us. Nothing but positivity coming out of Ferrari, and honestly, that excites me, and it should excite everyone within the F1 world, because it's going to be an incredible sight to see Lewis and Ferrari potentially working together to bring Ferrari back to prominence. Small issue of Charles Leclerc, though, and I don't think it's going to be easy for Lewis to get the best of him by any stretch of the imagination, guys. Speaking of Mercedes and Lewis, it looks like we're in for the biggest breakup of all time in F1 with Lewis and Mercedes. However, there's another breakup, and it looks as though Lewis Hamilton and Pete Bonington are no more after this season. That's right. No more get in there, Lewis. No more it's hammer time. That's right. Due to a non-poaching clause in Lewis Hamilton's contract, it would seem that going after Pete Bonington to bring him into the Ferrari fold is not going to be something that Ferrari or Lewis Hamilton are able to pursue, which is fine. Ferrari is saying that it's going to look like Carlos Sainz's engineer, Ricardo Adami, sorry if I've said that incorrectly, will be teaming up with Lewis Hamilton to be his race engineer. Reports state that Lewis is completely happy with this. It's a fresh start for Lewis. And also, if you want me to be completely honest with you, I'm not mad at that. I would say, if you're a Mercedes fan, if you're a Lewis fan, one thing that has been very clear is that the communication between Lewis and the Mercedes pit wall has not always been the strongest. You think about Russia 2020 with the pit lane start. You think about the red flag or pit lane close situation in Monza 2020. You think about, I think 2022, there was an incident with the pit lane entry and going in, not going in Saudi Arabia. How many times have Lewis been on, double guessed what the information he's got? I think a completely fresh start and being able to build that engineering side how he would want it, maybe. And look, maybe Pete Bonington was going to be the best person for that job, but Ricardo is an incredibly experienced person. I think it's an interesting opportunity for Lewis. But let me know what you think. Those are the main pieces of news today. I'm going to try to do these as much as possible. Oh my God, I need to sneeze. Oh, sorry. Let me know what you guys think about what we've discussed today. What do you guys think of Ollie Bearman's performance? What do you think of Christian Horner? How is this going to come to an end? And obviously, Lewis and Pete, how sad are you about that? If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 4,000, so help us get to 4,000. We're going to be doing these videos as daily as possible, and there's also going to be an audio version for the Spotify/Apple Podcast crew. And guys, remember, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.